Call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Ortonville Village Council, Monday, October 28th. It is 7 o'clock p.m. We have been called to order, and I would like everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Courtney, you would be so kind as to lead us. Yeah, all you got to know is the first two words.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks so much.
I feel like you noticed I wasn't paying attention. Always count on that one.
A roll call, please.
Rosemary.
Here.
Nivell. Here. Brooks.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Hayden.
Here.
Randazzo.
Here.
Mold. Here.
Okay, approval of agenda. We did receive in our packets one copy, and then we subsequently got a corrected copy with a couple of typos that had been recorrected. So I believe everybody would have the corrected copy from our meeting of Monday, September the 23rd. So again, we got two copies. One's they're both the same, with the exception of some secretarial changes. Maybe you can tell us what those were.
I put 62 instead of 26, so I was trying to create a new calendar for everybody that didn't know. And then it auto-corrected from there with to THERE when I wanted the other there. So that's what was corrected as well.
So nothing, okay, yeah.
Nothing of substance, just secretarial things. That being said, we have a copy of our corrected minutes from Monday, September 23rd. Is there a motion for these?
Do we have to do
It's very fast.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
Actually, I haven't to make an addition to the
Okay.
agenda. And this was at the village manager Matt's request. And there is an item in your packet, but it does not appear on the agenda, and I want to put it in there. And it's going to go underneath I, which is Tony Randazzo. This will be J. And it's going to correspond with the information in there about Mr. Ryan being appointed temporary treasurer. And that's kind of a state and MML requirement that we at least have somebody appointed temporarily to make it official that he can do treasury details. So it's a formality, but we should have it on the agenda. We should so let's make that item J, and then I can turn this back over to Melanie for hers.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the agenda with the amended item J, temporary treasurer.
I still support it. Who supported it first?
Well, okay, we're good. Just, it's motion moved and supported. Let's. Is there any more discussion on what that's going to be? Because we have a letter in our packet. That's all. But just so you guys are aware, I got a sticky note from Matt to add it to the agenda. So I don't know if this was.
I thought it was, so is
canceled
it
out or-
different than number C?
No.
Oh.
Okay, then the sticky note was ignored. But as long as we're this far along on this one, we'll just go ahead and finish it out. And is there any more discussion on Mr. Ryan being appointed temporary treasurer for the village until one is appointed?
We'll discuss it.
Yeah, it's just being added to the agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just added to the agenda.
yep, it's there.
Then we'll come to it when we come to it.
Yep.
Next is presentation, and this is the MSOC Main Street. And the other map will tell us a little bit more about this one.
Good evening, Matt Jenkins, Executive Director for the Ortonville DDA. With us tonight is Tim Colbeck. Tim, you're familiar with Tim. Tim's been here numerous times. He is a senior planner with Oakland County Economic Development and is our Main Street Oakland County liaison for Ortonville. Also, Ian Duncanson, he is the Southeast Michigan Market Manager for Michigan State University Federal Credit Union. I appreciate the opportunity for us to be able to do this presentation before the Village Council and a picture when we're done. And at this point, I'll bring, all this preparation, I almost forgot. MSU-FCU started in 1937 by 8 Michigan State College faculty and staff. They have over 360,000 members. And Ian and I were just talking, they were at some point in the past year, they were at 6 billion in assets. This year, they are now at 7.7 billion in assets, making them the second largest credit union in the state of Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Right here in
Ortonville.
So at this point, I would bring Tim Colbeck up to introduce our presentation.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. So yeah, we at the county have been very fortunate that we've been able to create this partnership with MSU-FCU. And there had been discussions about, well, we wanted to do something that would be beneficial for the communities, particularly focused on small business support. And through discussion and guidance from MSU-FCU, we landed on this being a investment in technology for firms and for small businesses, organizations such as the DDA here, that would be able to leverage this to expand their reach, increase sales for small businesses, expand their marketing. It could be for their web presence. It could be for point of sale technology. Anything that's going to better their business through the use of technology. And so, all that being said, we went through a round of applications, and we were very happy to award the Ortonville DDA. And this one is particularly focused on tying into the investment into Locable, so creating a marketing platform for the community, for the small businesses, allowing for small businesses that may not have a platform to do online sales to have a platform to do online sales, and to set them up and to integrate also with the district app, which has been, I think, a very successful promotion here. So all that being said, there was a group of people, mostly again MSU-FCU staff, who reviewed the applicants and made recommendations, and we're very pleased that we were able to award the Ortonville DDA with a check for $2,225. The odd amount, but it's cool, for the website creation and the establishment of, again, the integration of Locable into other businesses here. So. And then I don't know if you need to come up, because I'm sure you have stuff there. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. This is really a full circle moment. I grew up between Rochester and Clarkston. Ortonville was in my backyard, and I came here many times growing up. I was also part of the crew when we merged with Clarkston-Brandon Community Credit Union, who came and helped train the staff on the MSU-FCU systems. Ended up for almost a year helping, working out of this area, primarily from the Ortonville branch. And as my career's grown at the credit union, I've been fortunate to work in a position now where I get to make community impact. Another reason it's kind of a full circle moment is that the entire reason that this program, for which this check represents, exists is because I met this guy, Matt, right here, and he introduced me to the organization Main Street Oakland County. I attended their summit last year and noticed that hey, there's an opportunity for us to create a grant program to help small businesses in the communities where we're located. So for reference, in Oakland County alone, we have branches obviously right around the corner here. We have one in Clarkston, we're in Berkeley, we're also in Auburn Hills on campus at Oakland University, and we just opened a location in Novi like 2 weeks ago. So expanding and continuing to invest in this area, and we want to support Main Street districts that have small businesses where people want to live and feel proud to be able to go downtown and patronize those businesses and feel that sense of community. So very excited. The Ortonville application was far and away out of 25 applications we received the most thorough and in-depth application that we received. So very pleased to be awarding this to Ortonville and reinvesting in a community that I consider a pseudo hometown of mine. Thank you all for having us here. I would be remiss if I didn't say, if you haven't considered MSUFCU for your banking, please check us out. It's through our membership. It's through our membership because credit unions are not for profit, and so it's not our marketing budget. This is actually our members helping to reinvest in our communities. So consider joining us for your business or your personal needs. Everyone in Michigan is eligible, so we'd love to have you.
Can we get a picture? Kind of the council move around, way back, and we up front.
Up the center and I've done that way in the past.
I will just take several, and then you guys can pick which ones you like the best. And
Where's our village manager, Matt? You gotta be in here.
you two, come on in. And maybe even from up here, take several.
Good thing I just
All
got
right,
ready to
about 10.
56.
One of them should work.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, sure. For sure. You gotta tell me the show me anyway. Are you staying?
I almost thought you said that application was a $5,000
You can have my seat.
Well, you know, I guess I would be remiss before we leave that there is a second round that is accepting applications right now. So we just went live with round 2. So encourage the other small businesses here, if they're looking for anything that's going to give them a tech aid, this program is available for them.
Ian, what a great idea, and thank you for coming up with that scholarship.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah.
And it's just the first year, so.
Right.
It's just the first cycle of the first year.
You're an entrepreneur.
Okay, more. This
Did
is,
you go to state?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Good answer.
I also did a program at Oakland University. We're also OU credit union.
Yeah, okay.
So if you are fans, you can have Grizz on your card instead.
I got the OU card.
Congratulations,
and
DDA.
thank you guys very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
That was some good news.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I just wrote it twice, I'm sorry.
Okay, that takes care of the presentation. Next is the approval of the council minutes. We discussed that already. There's a second version where Amber had made a couple of corrections. So if everybody has the new copy, we can move along with the minutes from that meeting.
Make a motion to accept the Ortonville Village Council meeting minutes of September 23rd, 2024. Support.
Is there any more discussion on the minutes from the meeting? If not, all those in favor of accepting them, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the minutes are now official. On to acceptance of other items. We have in our packet the minutes from the DDA that they held on September the 16th, right here in this building. And they submitted a copy of the minutes from their meeting as well. And those are in our packet for acceptance only.
I have a question on those, or do you want to do all of them at once?
No, if you wanted, let's do them individually.
There was something, what, go ahead, that's back. Where is the mural? Which building will have the mural that you guys were discussing?
Whoa, you just want.
I know, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
She said they reviewed the minutes.
We're just looking at your meeting
The
minutes.
fire station number 1.
Okay. Are you guys doing a different artist, or are you doing kind of?
That's a very good question. Hope to hear back from our new artist.
Okay.
soon.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, and so are you waiting until spring, or are you going to rock and roll?
We had one meeting with the artist. We took him over to the fire station, we met with the chief, took him to the basement of the museum so he could see the
Nice.
fire engine.
Good.
But we've had a hard time catching up with them
Okay.
lately.
I was just curious if it was going to do, I know that was talked about like a year ago or something, so that's great. I'm hoping that goes through, because that'll
Yes.
look really, really cool.
There is a little bit of a funding gap at the moment, so we will have to address that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moved and supported, and discussion has been had on the minutes. These are just acceptance anyway, so we will accept them at this time. Also, we have a finance report and a revenue expenditure report, which we don't actually have because that's part of what we're working on now with, that Matt's putting together, which we would typically would have gotten from Beth, but those are not going to be accepted at this time anyway. So those items are not accepted because they're not here. And we can move on to approve the disbursements, which is in our packet. Somewhere in the area of 71,000.
Make a motion that we pay our bills.
Support.
9/15 to 10/15 in the amount of $71,074.47.
Support.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about the
I do, thanks. I was looking over the financial or distribution journal. I need some notes here. Okay, so basically, everybody knows that I'm being reimbursed for the Adobe program that I'm using at home to do the forms. But on this distribution form, it says computer maintenance, and I would like to have that changed from computer maintenance to reimbursement as it has been all this time. It's just because VC3 is on there as computer maintenance.
Right, and the reason being for that
It's
is-
fine, it's fine, but it's always been reimbursement, that's what the check says. So that's what it should say on this report,
Okay.
reimbursement. Thank you.
I think you're right, they should match up. Okay, Tony, anything else on disbursements?
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay, moved and supported and discussed. Roll call, please.
Meadow,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Moll, Quickenberry.
Yes. Okay, that takes care of disbursements. On to public comments. Public comments. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the board? I see a hand that sprung up very quickly, and yes, sir, I would like you to address the board if you would, please.
Thank you. My name is Alan Allgeier. I've been a resident in our community for about 25 years. I am the new president of the Ortonville Community Historical Society, which administers the museum located in the old mill. I can tell you that I am very honored to have been granted that responsibility. The logo of the village of Ortonville is a picture of this mill. And that gives me a real profound sense of duty to ensure that as stewards of the history of the Ortonville community, we do everything in our power to ensure our museum campus is a place worthy of community admiration and pride. And it is one of my goals for the Historical Society to strengthen our community relationships. And that's why I'm here tonight, simply to formally introduce myself to all of you, say thank you for all the support you have given us over the years, and to tell you that I am going to be actively seeking out new opportunities for the Historical Society to contribute to the improved quality of life here in the Ortonville community. Thank you very much.
Alan, that was very nice, thank you. And from our standpoint, it's very nice to have officially met you because we do have many, many common interests, and it's always so much easier to speak with somebody who you've met before and recognize. So thank you again for coming in for that.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, anybody else in the audience who would like to speak to the council?
Matt Jenkins, DDA Executive Director. Just want to briefly say I appreciate the council taking up the appointment of Allison Reese to the DDA board. You have a document that the DDA uses, we call it a board profile, where we ask interested candidates to just give us a little bit of information on who they are and what their interests are as far as the DDA and the DDA's purpose. The DDA board discussed Allison's credentials at our meeting a week ago today and have put forth her name to the village council president for appointment and of course this body's approval, and so we appreciate that.
Thank you very much. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask Allison to come up as well. Back to that same thing about putting a face and a name and all that kind of stuff that we just went through with Alan. We did get a copy of your application, so I'm not going to go over it line by line, but it's quite impressive in the fact that you've been an Ortonville resident as long as you have. You still currently are in the village limits of Ortonville and have business experience in several different areas that probably means you can contribute a lot to the DDA with input and just your service in general. So again, I'm not going to go over this line by line, but you've been here for a very long time. I think your grandparents had the camping park there next to the Ford dealership, which is still there. So that creates some community ties that make your position on this board even more valuable. So it's nice to meet you, and thank you, Matt, for coming in and introducing Allison to us, and we will vote on her approval into the DDA forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One other thing.
Oh, okay.
I'll be brief. The DDA went through a strategic planning initiative in 2023. In the Main Street world, it's referred to as transformational strategy planning. If you recall, our joint meeting included some workshops where we went through some strategy building. One of the two strategies that we landed on deals with placemaking. And one of the components or objectives of that is to do a thorough streetscape analysis. The DDA is using our technical assistance funds to work with Giffords Webster in a two-phased approach, in large part because of the cost. We are conducting some streetscape planning. One of the first things we will be doing is engaging the public on their preferences for the streetscape. This will be primarily within the DDA footprint of Mill Street, South Street, potentially some things on Church and Davis. But I'm just bringing that to your attention as we get into that community engagement phase. Really would appreciate you folks helping to get the word out and actually getting some feedback from residents and visitors who use our downtown.
Okay, thank you. Back to Allison Reese, the DDA guidelines require the approval of the village CEO for appointment to the board, which means I can certainly just give it. But on the other hand, it's something I prefer to share with the rest of the board members. So I would like to recommend that she be appointed. And I would also like the support of all the other board members as well.
We were going to do that down
That's
here,
the
but you
business
want
item.
Let's do it now.
Oh.
Matt did introduce her, so we can just take that one off the list. So all those in favor of Allison Reese as a DDA board member, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, then the recommendation from the village council is that you are approved as a DDA member.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very much.
Welcome.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Any other public comments, Matt? You did make a few, but are there any others that we have? Kind of covered a lot of things, so you did good. All right, that takes us past public comments. Let's go to items from trustees. If you don't mind, Larry, I'll start down at your end of the table.
Okay. First, I just want to add a little bit of feedback about the presentation from MSU. They have been a really good member of this community, both for the events, how they've been very cooperative in supporting events in the community, as well as the wonderful job they did with the restoration of the original board.
Yeah.
I thought that was just such a nice change in our community to see that coming back to the restored.
Larry, just so you know, when that fan kicks on, it does make it really a little more difficult for us to hear on this side.
I'll speak up.
There you go. And when the fan kicks off, then you'll be speaking too loud, but we'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah, so I did just want to give kudos to them for the good job they've been doing in our community. I also recently attended the SEMCOG General Assembly along with Matt. We attended some various sessions there. They had some good sessions on funding opportunities for infrastructure, and I'm going to share some of that information. I think I want to go over with Matt Park for Roads as part of the Streets Committee, and also got some thoughts for some things might be useful for Plan Commission to follow up on. Matt, there's an interesting app that they have too, which allows, I don't know if you've used it, for being able to track statistics on who's attending events, how many people are attending, where they're from. Have you used that before? If not, I can get you information on that so that you can start looking at the data from that.
I'm not aware if it's the same, but Main Street Oakland County does provide those, that data to us.
Okay.
So if it's a different platform, that might be something interesting.
Okay, it could be that the data source is being shared by both of those groups. But we also have that sort of app and data available from SEMCOG too. So there's a lot of good data from SEMCOG too. If you're not sure, just check with Matt or myself or our representative. I think you met our representative who was here last week. And they do a fantastic job. They have a ton of good information around our community that can be utilized to help us with planning and such. Anyways, I will also, when I have the links available, I can share them with Matt so we can distribute those to council if anybody wants to follow through and see presentation material from the General Assembly. Let's see, other than that, I do have some, as I mentioned, there's some topics I do want to have, probably wait till after the election, but then I do want to meet with Matt about the Streets Committee to go over some of these funding opportunities and some other topics about how do we fund our road infrastructure improvements, because I know that's been a challenge for us both. And it's basically my update. Thank you.
Yeah, great, thanks. Tony, you're next. However, you are also on the agenda for, you asked to be placed on for a separate item. So I can have you wait if you want to do everything at that time, or you want to split it up.
If I can split it up.
Yes, go ahead, it's your choice.
I won't speak too much about a meeting today that was held for the parade, but I do want to bring something up that kind of struck. I'm not sure if a lot of you will remember, but at a budget workshop, it was sometime in June of 2022, when I was on Parks and Rec, I wanted to offer like a gift certificate or some type of financial reward to those that were going to receive a beautification. Okay. Nobody said it was a bad idea. It was just that we couldn't do it because there's not money allocated to that. And as of right now, I don't see the money allocated still. But there was a remark that was made. It was very embarrassing for the person that asked the question, who is also a village resident. And that was something, whereas the question was asked, where would money come from? And the person pulled out a money clip. I thought it was very disrespectful and unprofessional. So I would like to say that it should be stated that any current members of village council or those that report to the village council, such as, not limited to, the village manager, clerk, treasurer, employees, or appointed persons on behalf of the village, offer such gifts while serving or employed by the village of Ortonville. I just don't think that's something good to say, well, we don't have the money there. I think it was, like I said, very unprofessional. So, okay. And as, like Larry was saying, with the election coming up, I have not done anything more getting with Matt about the computer stuff, because that'll be a big process. So, if I'm still here next month, then we'll discuss it.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay.
A couple things. Halloween, we'll be doing the cider and donuts and bonfire again. Melanie and I will be there as usual, doing the cider and donuts with the big help of the DPW. They do set everything up. Help us get that part done so we can just pour over cider and donuts. And I'm thinking we should be there earlier than normal. We'll talk about it. All right. And personnel update, I'm sure you've all noticed the two DPW workers we have right now are phenomenal. They are working all the time. They seem to be, whatever Bob gives them, they must be, and they're out doing what he told them to do. And I'm just really pleased that they're working out so well. And also, we're in the process, as you know, we don't have a treasurer right now since Beth's retirement. But we are working on some different ways. We'll be meeting this week, as a matter of fact, to talk about different ways, how we want to go forward with the treasury position. There is a resolution in our packet tonight temporarily to make Matt the interim treasurer. But we are still looking at what makes the most sense moving forward. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Melanie?
Well, DPW, and I'm looking forward to Halloween. Is always fabulous. So if anyone's watching, go down to the DPW, and there's a bonfire, donut, cider, and it's just a fun night. See everybody's costumes. It's my favorite night of the year. And congrats to Aaron, our DPW employee. He just had a baby, which is always exciting. I love babies. I'll babysit Aaron. Also, Larry, SEMCOG is offering it just came out today, a zoning atlas webinar. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, I signed up for that, and that's mapping that you can do for your, so I'll learn more about it when I do that. Are you going to take that?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Since I work full-time, it's difficult for me to make
Right.
those webinars.
Yeah, so if anyone
But
can.
Just as a side note, Melanie, all of the content on the what times I believe that they are reporting them, so they are available.
They do.
Outside those hours, if you see any that are you're interested in putting them down.
So I'll send the information to the village manager if anyone wants to take that, but I'll be taking it, but it will also be available at a later date. Groveland passed the ordinance for the best system, their planning commission did. It will now go to the board. So again, I'm urging everybody to please pay attention to that so you understand what is going on. The renewable energy facilities after November 29th will be hitting hard, especially in our areas of Brandon, Groveland, Holly, Springfield. So the more you can educate yourselves now, the better. I just feel like I've been repeating myself and sounding the horn for a year, but it's very important. Things are going to change quickly. We did not have a planning commission meeting, so I have nothing to report there. And lastly, please everyone get out and vote. Early voting started, and we're very lucky that we can vote in this country, so please vote.
Yes. I echo that. Exactly. I also want to echo what he mentioned about the DPW. And it seems like it's been a lot of years since we had what I'll consider a full yet efficient crew. And it seems like we do now. So keep our fingers crossed and it keeps going. That's it for me, but on to Ashley.
Mine wasn't really village related, but I did the Trails and Streets through Brandon Library this weekend. And it was their first run with it. And I think it actually went really well. We had a lot of participants and a ton of kids and tons of families. And it was fun just to go out there and hang out. And it was a good little loop, but I'd never been to that part of the park. And if we could bring some of that to here, that would be amazing. Their ground equipment and just like they have a tree garden, I guess, if you will, with different tree species and different plants for the different things and that kind of thing. And I love that. But it was fun.
I think it's still nice to be updated on things, even if it isn't directly a village project, but it keeps us more informed and gives us a better outlook on things. So thank you for that.
I couldn't go to that, but I contributed a whole bunch of candy.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah,
Next year, we're gonna have a marble. Sure. And then I thought, like, when it came out, I thought it'd be nice to have us as a village, have a booth out there, but I'll wait on that.
I live under.
Yeah, so you have that updated Parks and Rec master plan this month at night, that via Zoom, to clean up all the cut and paste things that were no longer relevant and up to date. And we did get that kind of cleaned up as far as the Parks and Rec goes. I also attended Christmas in the Village meetings. I did get some, one of my goals is to help with a Hallmark tree lighting, where we have some major.
Are you doing the lever? Okay.
And I mentioned that, yeah, Stacy from the township goes,
Yeah.
oh, and she drew up exactly what I was envisioning. So then I talked to John Hug afterwards, and they're excited about assisting with that being an event. So Matt's gonna give his speech, and then we'll have hopefully a more dramatic tree lighting than in previous years. And I'm looking forward to that being after the parade being much more well attended.
Is Santa going to pull the lever?
I don't know, depends if we.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
No, I don't know. We talked about Santa pulling it, but I don't know if we want to, and if he doesn't want to, then somebody will also have to do it.
Yeah, okay.
And the last Hallmark movie I watched, Santa did not, the mayor did it, so, you know.
Hallmark.
Yeah, Hallmark didn't have Santa do it, so it doesn't have to be Santa, it's just that.
All research for Christmas events
Yeah.
down through Hallmark.
You just need to color your beard white.
Yeah, one more thing for you.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is, I was talking to somebody in the village who wanted to have an opportunity to use this space, and currently, due to our rules and regulations, that would not be possible for what they want to do. So I just wanted to revisit our rules and regulations, not only for the town hall, but also the pavilion, because I know we have people using that, and some of it, when I have to admit, I don't always read these things, and I brought them up, and I thought, well, that's a little ambiguous. So I just thought of something maybe in the future for 2025, we can review the usage and.
So you're talking a special event permit, or?
Just
No, just
for usage, like
groups
people who
that
want to
wanna
come
come
in
use
and
it.
rent the facility.
like Boy Scouts.
Right.
And whoever, I mean, again, I think I wanted to revisit why we have some of these restrictions in place and maybe open some things up to see.
See, and I don't know where the restrictions are other than in the special event permit, so I'll find out after the meeting.
It's in the,
thing
the
of
use,
its own.
and when it can be used.
Okay.
And again, it's nothing drastic, I just thought that we'd be kind of walking a tight line for somebody who wanted a suggestion of an activity here, and I thought, well, let's review that and see if we can, if we need to open it up or close it down, because there must be reasons of things we didn't want to have in here that we want to still protect.
Yeah, and I don't know what that is, so
Yeah,
I'll
like I said, I
I'll
wanted
have
to
to look at it.
see, but I just wanted to revisit, I looked at it and I thought, again, you know, you
Right.
make these things up and then you read them 3 years later, like, what does that even mean? And because you weren't part of the creation.
Right.
So, and the language is always a little stiff on things, so.
Especially after lawyers get hold of it.
What?
Especially after lawyers get hold of it.
Yeah, I don't know, it looks like it was just us, but anyway, the language is kind
Okay.
of, so that's all I have.
Thanks, Linda. That takes us from items to trustees to unfinished business. And number 8 is a audit follow-up. As you know, after the departure of our treasurer, we got some help from our auditors to come in and take a look and give us some suggestions. I think there's a copy of that in our handout as well of what they recommend. Just keep in mind that they're only aware of the fact, they're only aware of the information that we give them in the first place. So they're not doing an independent audit in the sense that we don't contribute to it. So because we do contribute to it, that's what they're basing their findings on. But that's what we have in hand now, and I know once we make some of these personnel changes that are going to be coming up soon, we'll be ready for our next audit when it comes.
Right, Ken?
Yes, you may.
So I had a meeting with our actual auditor, the guy who's responsible for it, the follow-up meeting, where they do their draft closing and then it actually gets finalized after that. So the process is obviously they dig through all the books, they reconcile everything, they have their findings, they ask questions about things that might be explainable, and then they come back with their draft of what their report's going to be, which was what we got. You all have a draft of the letter of their significant finding, which is a repeat significant finding, which is they're concerned about cash controls because we have such a small office. We have a lot of people doing multiple duties, and so there's not enough segregation of duty because there's not enough people to segregate them among. That is something that we are working on, and we're developing our new policy and procedures for bookkeeping and treasury, which I'm going to start using those terms because it's important that we distinguish the two things. And so the first paragraph there tells us what we want to hear, which is there's no issues. It's a clean audit, in other words, just in real simple terms. The only deficiency would be, again, that segregation of duties. Everybody in the office having access to the cash drawer, which they openly admit. Our cash drawer has a very small amount of money in it that they say, okay, you don't really have any risk, but we have to point that out. That's one of the realities we deal with just from having such a small staff. We also have the representations letter, which Ken and I signed on behalf of the village. Just to say that, as he said, the information we gave them is true to the best of our knowledge, that kind of thing. Then there's a lot of formalities in a report, so I have a report here that anybody can view anytime you want. This will be made final by manner, and then we'll have the final one at our next meeting in November. So this includes all of our financial statements and explanations for shrinking or growing funds or funds that moved around. But all in all, they're very happy with the fact that the audit's clean, one, and that we don't carry debt, which makes us very unique in the municipal world, that we actually have a strong cash position, obviously, which is a good thing. So those were the findings that they would have presented tonight if we asked them to drive out from Lansing to do it. But I figured we could save that consulting fee, and I could report those things. And again, those are all things that will be available for any of you who want to see it for the next 30-ish days until we have our next meeting, when they'll present it as a final, assuming that there's nothing in there we want to change. Again, things come out happy and good, there's probably not needed to make a change for them. So that's the audit, again, successfully closed fiscal year 24. That's all due by December 31st, so we're well ahead of schedule on that.
Okay, very good, thanks. And we'll again be discussing this more next month. Takes us to Parks and Rec 5-year plan. That's in our packet as well, I believe.
So you were distributed digitally.
No, nothing?
We owe you an apology directly from the designer who sent me a link that was supposed to be a live update. So the link you received in your email should have been a live update of that document, but it was to a static draft that was old, and many of you noticed there were issues in it. I apologize for that. I shared their apology with you that they sent the wrong link. As soon as we got the right one today, we resent it out, but I know none of you had time to review it. So we did print out, and of course with the printing costs, these cost about $40 a piece to print them out, which is why I didn't print them tonight. Hope no one's offended by that. Again, this will be available for review. We can discuss any parts of it. There's only, let me be careful what I say. So the township and the village at some point earlier this year decided to go in joint on developing a 5-year plan together as it deals with parks and recreation. Most of the plan is not necessarily specific to us. There's pretty small portions that actually have to do with what we do. You find most of that in Chapter 6. When I came into this process, I joined with Linda on a call and we saw the first draft and went, uh-oh, because there was, I would say, nary a single thing that was accurate about what the village does. And there were pages of things that were just had nothing to do with what we do. And so we put in a lot of work correcting it, a lot of work getting it to where this current draft is now actually the public viewable draft. And the only reason this is on the agenda tonight is that you all need to know this is now a public plan, that there's a 30-day open public comment period on. This was posted in the newspaper. So anybody who wants to.
The one that we got this afternoon?
The new draft, yes. This is a
Okay,
copy of
because
it.
I thought the reason for tonight was to make our changes into,
So this is just for me to inform you that we are now in a 30-day comment period.
Okay.
So in the next 30 days, that includes us to make any comments on it, any public comments are on it. It's been shared that it's available to be reviewed. It can be viewed online or it can be viewed in this hard copy if anyone wants to know about it. And then in our November meeting is when this board would ostensibly move to vote to accept it as our upcoming 5-year plan. Just to give you a little bit of color, the purpose of having a 5-year plan isn't just because we need pretty books to make it look like we're doing something. It's in order to qualify for DNR grants. In order to qualify for a lot of programs, you have to have a plan that it fits into. Much of it is aspirational. So you will see things that are aspirational in there. It's not saying these are not projects that we're committed to. These are just projects we would like to do. And part of that 5-year plan is, here's where we'd like to go. So when we find grants and we find opportunities to fund things and we find projects, we're going to see how do they fit into our plan, our overall plan together. If that gives, a plan 101, which I'm sure most of you have more experience than I do, but it's not a commitment to anything. That was an important thing for me to understand. That we're not saying we are going to do this. We're not saying we have funds set aside to do this or that. It's just kind of a dream together, but it's an intentionality that we're going to move and operate within this for the next 5 years. Again, making this eligible to apply for grants to the DNR.
The other thing I want to include is someone had asked me about the survey that we could all take, and that is in the appendix. So, when we met with them, it was very clear that in order to create statistics and things, you could not ask open-ended questions, which 5 years ago, the majority of the survey was open-ended questions. So there was an opportunity at the end of the survey to have an open-ended comment, and those are included in the end. So, you know, I think that is an interesting read as well.
And if this 30-day review period, say it starts today and you want to have this voted on at the next meeting, and someone does go through, review this, and recommend a change here or there, or possibly an addition, how do you reconcile that we would then be ready to vote on the final copy at the next meeting?
How do I reconcile it? Can you be more specific? I'm sorry.
Just say there's some changes that are made to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Next meeting, we will then be voting on something that has new changes in it. That may be other
And so my duty then would be to report to you the track changes.
Okay.
This is what it was 30 days ago. These are what the comments were. This is a recommended change. Assuming you all adopted that change, then that's what will be the final version. We have control over it.
Okay.
And we have control over every single word, every placement of a letter in this document. It can be done on a phone call. He puts it on a Zoom screen with me and I tell him, no, let's move that there, let's do this here.
So we can get a copy of the rough draft if any changes are made, say a week before the
Correct.
next meeting. And then that way we'll have a week to be able to review it so that we can vote on it at the
Right.
meeting.
And
we're not hearing it for the first time.
right, you won't be hearing it for the first time. In an ideal world, the original plan was that the December 23rd meeting would be where we vote on this.
Okay.
And so I'm pushing it up to November just to not have the pressure of doing it the week of Christmas. If we can get it done, we can get it done. If not, we'll move it into December. As long as it's done by 12/31. Unfortunately, this is the timeline we were on, which I inherited, and it is last minute, and I agree. So I'm gonna have to be good about communicating any recommended changes that we get, because any recommendations or public comment would have to come to my office, so I should know about
And I'd
that.
just like to ask all the council members that if you want to review it and take a look at it and make some suggestions, do it sooner rather than later, and that will give him more of a cushion time to prepare a final document.
I would like to get a copy of just specific to Ortonville, like you said, the chapter 6 and whatnot, because I just went and printed out and I keep going through all my ink. Because when I asked for a copy earlier, I was denied it. So I want a copy of what relates to Ortonville now on this new one, since this no longer is relevant. And what I went through, so I'm hoping, because the last time we went through this with Ryan, we submitted changes. Those were not in what I saw. They could be in what was sent this afternoon. I don't know, because I haven't seen that yet. But there are specific things that need to be changed that are dealing with even putting in a budget amount and things that our village is in control of that we are not. And the map itself is incorrect. And anyways, so I had made notes on some of those last time, but then I saw some additional stuff, and I was bringing it for this evening, because that's what I thought this was about. But yeah, so if I can get a paper copy, that would be great, because that's how I work, and that's how I do my notes, and it keeps a copy of everything I say.
And if you want to go through them, I'm totally fine. If you want to go through them line by line right now, I can tell you what the updated version is. Or if you want to meet with me afterward or another day this week.
No, I'll meet this week. I don't want to waste the time. Yeah, and I do want to point out one of the stats in there. I don't know if all of you read it, but about the population that's happening out here and how we are going down. And it said that basically the trends for our area are going to be for age 65 and up, and that we should focus on recreation planning for that more so than families. And that was one of the stats that they had in this. So it's something to be aware of when we are going after items, since we're losing population, and that's where they see us going. So. But yeah, I'll get with you this week.
I just have one more thing I want to say. and I don't know how many days are between now and, the next meeting, but, so what happens if, now somebody from the public, right? What if they turn something in on the 28th day? Right? Or our next meeting is before the 30 days. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'd like to know where it's 30 days, how it applies, is it a moving target?
And we also got to be aware of the fact that just because a citizen or a board member makes a recommendation, that doesn't necessarily mean it's, automatically going to be included in the plan. It's just.
Oh, yeah, no, I get that. What I'm saying is that if somebody does make a suggestion, okay, and it's a good suggestion, and we accept it, what's going to happen if we voted on it or approved it before the 30 days?
Here's another caveat to that is that the township is also going to approve the final document. So, and I can't remember, when did they meet again? I don't know, but we meet different times. And so, yeah, there's going to be a whole timing thing. And I guess what has been pressed upon us is that this does not mean that we are going to do what it says is in here. It's basically, here's some things to aspire toward. And that's what I think the point is. And I agree that sometimes you feel like, well, what's the point of it? And the point of it basically is so that we can ask for grants. Okay. So the only major corrections would have to be, we left something out that we want to apply a grant for in the future. Maybe we ought to make sure it's in there.
Yeah.
For an example, there's a boardwalk to go along that little pocket park. And I said, that sounds ridiculous to me right now. And they said, well, 4 years from now, someone might think that's really going to look pretty. And I thought, okay, you're right. If they wanted to do that and there was a perfect grant for it, if we don't put it in, it doesn't happen. Yeah. But again, it's not something that we got to make sure 5 years from now we have a boardwalk sitting out there.
No, I'm good with the dreams.
So that's the kind of thing, is that it's not a finite, we have to do this document.
So it's living.
Not really.
I mean, read our master plan for the village and you'll get an understanding. Because that's what Larry keeps saying, when's the last time you read our village master plan? And I said, yeah, it's been a while. And again, you read it when it first comes out, but it's a good thing to go back and say, this is what the village decided. When was it, 2019?
No, we just updated it 22.
Oh, 22.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that makes sense.
And is it important that the village's version and the township's version mirror each other?
Yes.
They will, there's only one document.
There's only one document, as I said.
And so, one thing I want to make clear that I don't think is clear, that probably I just didn't make it clear enough. The 30-day period ends about 8 days before our next meeting. The idea is that we had that 30-day period for comment, and then we have a 30-day period to adjust it, and then it will be approved in December. I merely was suggesting we may have it ready in November, because there may not be a robust enough public comment that there needs to be changes, and we may be able to vote to approve it in November, which would just make it that much easier that we don't have the pressure of a deadline of voting on it eight days before it has to be enacted, right, or adopted. And so
things go smoothly, we can do it in November.
Right, and that's what I would expect because we cleaned up so much in it. But your observations are keen and they're the same as mine. I worried about when I understood that it was fully aspirational. That gave me a lot of freedom to go, okay, I don't have to worry about every detail in here. And the idea being that it just enables us to apply for those grants. We can come up with, who knows what we're going to dream up with in the next 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is. It didn't have to be contemplated and listed. This is just a list of ideas for right now, right? And so something comes up that puts carousels on the roofs of village pubs. I don't think that's going to happen. But if it comes up, we'd be able to do it, right? I mean, we'd be enabled, right? That's the whole idea of this, is to enable us to act and then to say, we may have to justify this is how it fits in, right? A part of any application process is to say this is how it fits into our plan. This is why we want to do this project. This is where it goes. And, I'm not sure that there will be much thought by the people who are approving it, nor much review of this actual document in the process of deciding whether or not we should get the grant. It's going to be based on the justification in the case we make at that time of why this is a fitting project. So.
So with any luck, this will be an item of unfinished business at our next meeting, and we should all be aware that we can approve it at that time.
Right. And tonight was really just to introduce it, to talk about the fact that the public comment sector time is open. It's been open for a few days, and the public comment obviously includes input from all of you. And so over the next 30 days, if you get a chance to go over, and I can make black and white copies, I just making color copies of this book kind of hurt my soul when I realized how much it costs. So, but I'm more than happy to do it. You know, it's obviously an expense. We spent a lot of money already on this design, and so that's why I just made that decision. It wasn't meant to deny any of you from reading it for sure. But I welcome the conversation. Obviously, Linda and I have been involved in this conversation for 8 weeks maybe at this point, picking it up from my predecessor, and so we've cleaned up what we thought needed to be cleaned up, and I think, you know, we're in a state now where a couple suggestions might come in, we can make edits, and it can be good to go, hopefully by the November meeting.
Okay.
If I could add a little bit of my own comment on there, an observation. First of all, just like our master plan, this is going to be a guiding document for our Parks and Recs decisions, or should be at least. So I would like to encourage all council to please take that into consideration when you're looking at reviewing. I also think that because the township seems to be more of the driving force behind this, my one concern is that it seems already the document is heavily township oriented in its direction of approach. And I would like to make sure that we get our input in there to make sure that it also reflects the village of Ortonville's priorities, not just the townships. Related to that, we do have our own plans and guidelines already that I noticed Linda had made some comments in the existing document that we got originally about things like we have a style guide for wayfinding when it comes to signage. We have a park plan when it comes to Heritage Park. We need to make sure those things that are already part of our existing plans are incorporated and referenced within this document too. We don't want to have discrepancy between our different documents.
No, they should absolutely match, and that was some of the issues. It's not the dreaming part, that's fine. You know, it's the making sure, that those
And
are
that's why
acknowledged and specific.
Yeah, and I just want to say, when we're reviewing, we've got to take those things into consideration. We've got to make sure that it's an accurate reflection of our desires as a village too, not just the townships, and reflects our existing plans. And that's
Okay. Moving on to new business. Hazardous, this is the new business, item A, hazardous mitigation resolution. Apparently we need to have a resolution approved by this council that mitigates hazardous plants. It seems like it's a formality of some sort.
It's a renewal from last year, and it's a renewal you're going to see this time every year because it's leading up to the fire department's year starting on January 1. They have to have this on file. What it's saying is that the county and the state both require that whenever there's whenever there's an ambulance on patrol, it needs to have 2 people in it. They don't have the staff to do that. Whenever they have a patient, they have 2 people, but they can't patrol 1 person. In order for them to do that, they have to get all the municipalities who rely on their service to sign off and say, that's okay, we understand this is the reality of your operation. And that really is the simplest of what it all boils down to.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution authorizing the adoption of the Oakland County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan.
Okay, moved and supported, and Melanie, you said you had a question?
I was just wondering if there was any kind of number to put with the motion, but all good, she made the motion. Do we have to put the date in the motion at all?
It's listed on. This is for our
I'm just saying
copy.
for the
She is going
motion.
to make one that has the yays and nays.
Yeah, but, all right, because it's for every year, so I didn't know if you wanted the date in the
The
motion.
date of adoption is highlighted at the bottom. That'll
Okay.
be filled in with today's date.
Very good.
Okay, roll call vote, been moved and supported and discussed. Roll call vote on the resolution.
Brooks. Yes. Green.
Yes.
Hayden.
yes.
Randazzo.
Yes.
Mold. Yes. Nyvel.
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. Next is the ARPA expenditure approval.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, yeah.
I didn't mean to step on your toes. ARPA, the American Reinvestment, oh no, I started saying it and realized I don't have it. Anyway, ARPA was a whole bunch of federal money that came out of COVID as a response for communities to ostensibly spend money to benefit or offset losses incurred during COVID. This year is the end of it, so by December 31 of this year, all those funds have to be committed or returned to the Department of Treasury. So this is, our auditor has recommended, and I'm recommending to you, that we use those funds to cover government services in the form of payroll for essential services, essential workers during a relevant time period that much more than covers the amount of ARPA dollars we have been granted. And so I would move forward with committing those dollars and spending those dollars in November.
So you're making sure we don't have to give any back?
Correct, because the dollars, well, it's a theoretical argument about, or a discussion about money and where it spends, and the spending is this and that, but we've incurred the loss. Now we're going to basically refund ourselves, which is the purpose of ARPA, by spending that money on that loss, mitigating that loss.
And salaries is a perfect way to do that.
It is. There's a new final rule that came out 2 years ago, roughly, that was actually written by one of our auditors who walked me through it and explained there's 10 listed items now that are approved expenses for that. We fall under 2 of them. We also fall under, there's a $10 million limit where if you're under 10 million, you don't even have to justify it, but we thought a good practice to justify it anyway. I hate to, let you all down lightly here, but we received less than 10 million. So, we could use that exemption, but we thought it'd be best practice just to say this is where we spent the money. It's already outlined and ready, the dollars are there, the report's ready. I just need to, receive approval from you all.
Well, what were the things that we could spend it on? You said there were 2 that the village.
Right, and there were the 2 that I articulated, one being government services, the other being wages paid for essential workers, right? And so those really wrap into one, right? And essential, our government service that we use was the wages we paid. Being open in a time when we weren't necessarily required to provide and continue to provide government services in person especially, all of that qualifies under it.
And it's money we've already spent.
Correct.
Okay, now I see it's on the agenda under new business. You need a roll call approval of this from the board?
I don't think we need the formality of a roll call, no. You will see it as an expenditure, as a disbursement in next month's report. Okay. So if you believe you need a vote on that, I certainly wouldn't disagree with you, but I would leave that to you.
I was just curious if it provided more support for you with the people you have to deal with.
There is not a requirement in ARPA that there is a resolution or board approval for this. It was merely the agreement before you, so that you knew what was going on.
Okay.
Because it'll be a significant disbursement in the next month's report.
So you're basically just seeking our consensus to go ahead with doing it now?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I have roughly 60 days before the end of the year to commit these funds or lose them. This is my idea. If anyone wants me to hunt down another avenue, that's fine, but this is what our auditor suggested and what it seems to be the most appropriate way, I guess, to go about it.
Okay, so that was informative, and we can just move forward, and Matt can move forward with the auditors in terms of getting reimbursement for that money. Okay, that's item B. Item C is resolution for the temporary treasurer. We mentioned that at the beginning of the meeting. I had a sticky note that said we were supposed to add it, but apparently this was not needed. Wasn't needed after all, but we do by state law and I think MML, they want us to have somebody who can be appointed the treasurer, even though it's a temporary position, just so that we're official. So there's a document prepared that we're going to appoint Matt as the temporary treasurer of the village until we make further plans to have that position covered.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution for appointing a temporary treasurer as presented.
Support.
Okay, does anybody have a question for Matt? He explained it to me pretty well in the office the other day, and it's a formality. Yeah,
Just one observation on there. I notice the report here talks about separation of duties, so I hope that we do come to a resolution regarding the treasurer position soon, so that we don't have further overlap of duties and responsibilities on it.
That's the
Larry, I'll let you know it's going to be real soon.
Yeah, that's the plan, for sure.
Okay, roll call on this resolution.
I just want to know who authored it.
Me.
Where did you get that info?
What do you mean? It's a normal resolution of what needs to be
That's what I'm asking.
typed in and referenced old resolution.
Okay, basically cut and paste. Okay, roll call, please.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Mold,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. Okay, the next few items have to do with our deposits for different institutions in the area. These are, again, our formalities. When our treasurer was let go, I went by and verbally spoke with all these institutions, but yet they do like to see something in writing at some point. So we're just basically catching up with the past month or two, and that's what these first few are. The first one is deals with Genesis Bank, and I was always on that anyway, but it's a letter in writing to them indicating that myself and Matt Ryan will be able to be signers on that account.
Do we need to approve the board resolution?
I think we do, don't we?
I make a motion to approve the board resolution, bank authority use for Genesis Credit Union.
Support.
Okay, the explanation was pretty clear, and it's a formality that the bank wants it in writing, and this is going to be their written copy of what we request of them. So, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Mold,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. Okay, the other one is a very similar document,
I
but
make a motion to accept the board resolution for the MSU Bank to put Matt Ryan, village manager, and Kenneth Quisenberry, village president, on as bank authorization use.
Support.
okay, moved and supported. Does anyone want to discuss more on this one?
I just wondered, can we call it MSU Bank or should it be the
FC.
MSU?
MSUFC.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just says MSU Bank.
MSU,
That's
okay.
Federal Credit Union,
Mhm.
right? I don't know if that's a formality that needs to be on there, but.
I suppose you could, since you all voted on it, you could vote to approve it with that change.
Yeah, I will revise my motion to include MSU Federal Credit Union.
I will still support that.
Okay, moved and supported with the corrected name, and the discussion's been had. Roll call, please.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Mold,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
or
Yes.
Quisenberry.
So-
Two votes.
Yeah.
I'll vote yes as well. Resolution for a trustee for Lincoln Financial. In the aftermath of Beth's departure, some council members and Matt have been going through files and records, and of course, you're always going to discover things that nobody really knew about or it's long since forgotten, and one of those is some money that we have in a place called Lincoln Financial, and Matt has researched that, and for us to do anything with it, either move it or use it, he has to be the person in charge of it, and there's a resolution for us appointing him to be in charge of that.
Just to set expectation, we need to identify whether it's ours yet or not, or former employees. It's a retirement fund that may be held by us, it may be held by somebody else. We don't know, we don't even know that information. So that's why.
But this
they're
gives you
requiring
permission, you
this.
get the permission to
Exactly.
research it.
I just didn't want to set the expectation that the money was ours. That's part of what we want to identify.
Okay.
And then how to follow. We found 2 of these. One of them allowed our clerk to get the information needed. This one did not, so they needed a resolution in order to
Are they
get
both in
information
the
about
same
events.
person's name, this that's on here?
We don't know, because we get no information.
They won't tell you.
Why?
No, because that right there indicates.
Well, Larry Brown
Uh-huh.
might have.
That's what came in on the statement, so they said, and I quote, "You have to remove the name and place who you want by resolution."
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution to make Matthew Ryan the trustee for Lincoln Financial.
Support.
Okay, that is clear as mud, but we can still vote on it. Matt's going to research this, and I'm sure he's going to report back to us what he finds out from Lincoln Financial at our next meeting.
If they move it back.
Yeah, when he gets it. All right, this is a motion for Matt as Lincoln Financial representative. Roll call, please.
Mold.
Yes.
Neville.
Yes.
Brooks. Yes. Green.
Yes.
Hayden.
Yes.
Randazzo.
Yes.
Rosenberg.
Yes. Item G is the appointment of trustee Allison Reese to the DDA board. We took care of that earlier today when she was here, which was, I'm sure she appreciated because she didn't have to wait around. So that's that. Next is the 2025 meeting schedule. We have that in our packet as well. Is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah, can I speak on that?
Can you speak on it? Yes, you may.
All right. So since we have not had a planning commission meeting, I do not have their dates set in stone. But council needs to be done sooner rather than later so we can get on Brandon Township's schedule for renting the room. And then the DDA was handing me this morning as well their updated dates with April 21st being pending further discussion at their next meeting because of it being Easter Monday, so the Monday after Easter. So that's all I have.
All right.
So we're just accepting this?
Well, I would like ours to be completely accepted because then I can take that to
Schedule.
Brandon Township and get us on their 25 schedule.
I make a motion to approve the Village of Ortonville Council meetings as presented for 25.
Support.
Just some discussion, question. Do any of the council dates fall on a holiday?
No.
Like Memorial Day?
I don't, I'm just confused with the December 22nd. I thought we always did the week before. The week before Christmas, that Monday.
I don't remember the last couple of years, I think we have not had.
We haven't had
Oh,
it.
we don't again.
We've,
I think
yeah.
I thought it was scheduled, and then in November, we just,
I thought we just one.
scratched it. I don't know if we want to scratch it off now because there may be a necessity for it, so.
We should always have this schedule.
Yes.
And then if there's not.
And then if there's nothing going on, we say, hey, don't show up. Matt Jenkins, do you have an opportunity to look at the DDA portion of this?
Yes.
Yeah, I provided some updates to,
Okay. And you were good with everything except the 21st, you're going to discuss at the next meeting?
the January and February dates are the 4th Monday. It'll coincide with the same dates as the council.
Okay.
So the one if it's the one in the digital packet,
It's wrong in the digital because we got the updated this morning.
Okay. All right,
So the changes are in our meeting, my digital copy says May 26th, you say it's the 19th. And the January 5th,
That's the update.
okay.
And we just, all we were approving anyway was the councilman portion that was moved and supported. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so our council meetings for next year are set in accordance with this graph we were provided with. Next up is Tony Randazzo. He sent me an email earlier, a week or two ago, asked to be placed on the agenda because he wanted to discuss some Christmas in the village issues and in particular the Christmas tree. And so I put him on the agenda and this is where he comes up. So Tony, with that, you can take it from here.
Okay. So in your packet, you're going to find 2 pages. It's obviously the first page of our regular meeting from May 24th, 2021. And then, I guess it's on the back of that one. You'll see where I hope it's highlighted.
It is.
Okay,
Yeah.
so my only thing is that when we moved the tree in 2021, we took a vote. And I think it's only the correct thing to do would be to make a motion to put the tree back over here, just because we did set a precedent with making that vote. So I'd like to make a motion to plant a tree consistent with a Christmas tree in a temporary location in Heritage Park located at the corner of Mill Street and Church Street until the Heritage Park project commences.
Is there room there? Am I thinking wrong? I thought it was supposed to.
It's already up.
It's already up.
Yeah.
Support.
Wait,
Oh,
we can have
This is
discussion.
just,
Now we can have conversation.
this is just a Christmas tree, it's not a live tree. that was-
It's in a ball.
It's a
It
live
can be
tree.
moved.
It's a light
Yeah.
plant.
To be
It's in a
removed.
ball, so it can
Are we
be
talking about
moved.
planting it in Heritage Park?
It already is.
It's there.
No, it's already planted.
Yeah.
I planted it's below the ground surface, but still in the ball, so that Bob can come back in whenever he decides on March or April with a spade and dig it up and relocate it someplace else, because it was not intended to be a permanent part of Heritage Park,
Okay.
but only for the
Okay,
holiday
I
season
was just trying
to have a tree to celebrate.
So it's gonna be moved in the spring?
Yep.
Well,
Maybe.
it's gonna be moved
Maybe.
when it needs to be moved.
Yeah,
We don't know the
maybe.
business.
You wait too long, it's gonna have roots infiltrated.
Well, it's in a ball right now, so I don't know how long it stays in that, but
I mean, I suppose the worst scenario is if it starts to take root, we cut it down.
yes.
It can be made to go away.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to kill it.
No.
I don't know. I'll tell you what, we killed a lot of trees right here with,
That's why I'm going to take this.
Okay,
I
that's
was
about
wondering if Matt might want to speak as to why we went this route instead of the guide wires for the tree that had been in the other area.
Yeah, so my understanding is this meeting in 2020, I think it was, 21, the tree that had always been used had died, and there was a need to decide if we were going to put a new location because it required brick paver work and some other things, so it came before the board. This was not something that needed to come before the board this year. It was a budgeted expense for the tree that we last year bought, a temporary tree. Spent roughly $700 last year on a tree. This one was $799, and it's alive. So it can be transplanted. That tree obviously was dead. It creates a major headache for DPW. All the time they put into watering it, to keeping the wires. Anytime there was wind, there was issues with the tree. Bob brought to me the idea of planting something there so they could avoid having the guy wires and having watering and all those issues. But that meant ripping out all of those pavers and digging it out and having to redo that whole corner, which just didn't make logistical sense when we had a spot where it could be put temporarily, knowing that possibly down the road, Crossman, or we discussed the old mill, or there's other locations that might be cool to put a Christmas tree or a longer term tree. And so the fact that it was just the same price basically as what we invested last year and reduced all those headaches, we said, yeah, let's go ahead and do it for now. We worked with the sheriff's department to talk about rerouting the parade route for Christmas in the village. So it's now going to work its way around and end there, which would be a perfect location then when we're doing the tree lighting. So I'm not sure, I'm afraid that setting the precedent of having a motion for something that's within the DPW's purview is going to commit you to now, every time Bob needs to do something, that we have to wait until there's a board meeting in order to get approval to do it, right? Just like moving it. Who knows where it's going to be next year? It's going to stay there until if the plan for Heritage Park moves forward and it needs to move, it can move. If it, like Ken said, it can be cut down if it needs to be, because it's an expenditure that we, would be a bummer, because ideally, we're gonna save a bunch of money by not spending that $700 every year moving forward. But it can be done. I'm not sure, I guess, what a motion would, and how it would be worded. How it would be, I'm not sure if it would be beneficial, is okay.
Just word it.
Well, we didn't make any motions the last 2 years of where we're going to put.
Well, let me finish. Okay, so you'll see a motion on the older notes where the council at that time voted to place a Christmas tree at Mill Street and South Street for Christmas season 2021. But there is no further motion to move it from that location to another location, and as such, it remained at the same location at Mill Street and South Street until January 2024. So again, I'm just going to read my motion again that I stated. To plant a tree consistent with a Christmas tree in a temporary location in Heritage Park located at the corner of Mill Street and Church Street until the Heritage Park project commences. Nowhere in there did I say it had to go in a certain spot. It's a temporary spot.
So are you then making that exact motion right now, Tony?
No, well, it's
We already did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That way we can talk about it.
Okay.
But I think Matt's concern
Did somebody
is,
support it?
from
Yes, I
what,
did.
from what I'm understanding, Matt's concern is that it's taken away from the DPW in order for them to make day-to-day decisions.
Yeah.
Well, I would hope
This
that's
is-
not what
this
that's, Tony, is that what your intent is?
I also have to feel
Yeah.
that it's not really necessary, because this motion from 2021 says for the Christmas season 2021. So
Mhm.
whatever was done after that, this motion only applied to that one single season.
And it never- it never
If we
went back.
just continued to if the village staff just made the decision to continue it there the next following years, that was their decision, that's fine. I don't see why we need a motion to change that. I agree that it should just be something that village manager, DPW, is within their purview to.
You can make a motion, we don't have to vote yes. We don't have to vote
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
on it.
These are
I'm
straight up, that's what I'm
I'm
making a
in
motion.
agreement with Brian, I don't really think it's necessary council makes a motion.
And I agree,
That's
that's
fine.
I would caution the limiting at the end too. If you say it'll be moved when Heritage Park project moves forward. If it never moves forward, then do you not have the liberty to move it?
It says until the Heritage Park project commences. So yes, if it doesn't commence, it doesn't need to be moved. It's
Yeah, but
pretty
he's saying if it doesn't
straightforward.
commence.
But if someone wanted, if they wanted to move it,
Leave it
we
there.
have to have a new resolution
Yes.
to move it? Yeah. I-
Well, we
understand that.
made a motion
Okay.
back then. And everything I looked at, we never had done that before. So I'm just saying, we've done it in the past. We should just continue and put it back there.
Well, I had Amber look it up, and in the past, as far back as she could go in minutes, the village council has never voted where to put a particular Christmas tree. They just did it based on where the DPW said it needed to go. And so there's no precedence on motioning for the Christmas tree until this.
That's what-
That's what I think
yeah,
we're getting at,
yeah.
until this one.
Correct.
So, do we want to continue that tradition of motioning it, or just leave it in the hands of the manager and the DPW, and obviously the village council gets input every year? But I don't know that it needs to be a
Yeah, but it's
motion
not
of
even a
like.
tradition, because this was the one and only time that it was done, and it wasn't done in the past 2 years.
But it was also, some people wanted to keep it there, and other people wanted to move it. So there was this going on, so that's why a motion was done, to
Yes.
take the,
Yeah. Okay, no further discussion, I'll call for a roll call vote on Tony's motion.
Mo,
Wait, you have a question.
she knew that's why she called you bold.
I guess the only issue I have though is that if we approve the price of the Christmas tree and that we're paying for said Christmas tree, but. Okay,
Answer
answer
your
my
question.
I do do that all the time.
Actually, you can go in a different order if you want.
I'm still working it.
Yeah.
But I have it.
We'll come to you
Okay.
just before she comes to me.
Okay.
Nivell,
No.
Brooks. No. Green.
No.
Hayden.
No.
Randazzo.
No.
Mold.
No.
Quisenberry.
No. Okay, that takes us through new business. It leads us to one item short of item 14, which is the village manager report. Just as many of you know, we did call upon the village manager multiple times this evening to update us on a lot of things. So a lot of the things I think he's going to have in the manager report have already been hashed over. So you may have a shorter version now than before, but
I wish it was more. I'm going to go as quick as I can. Concession stand still moving forward. I took some pictures today, and I thought those pictures were going to be included tonight. I'm not sure where they are, but I have. It looks quite good, and I would like to see the new floors in, the garage doors are in. It looks sharp. They're going to finish up the plumbing. We're still in a limbo about whether or not we're going to take the funds of the DNR grant that had certain requirements with it. We have gone through the process. Amber was good enough to help learning that process to be able to get us the extension, so that we're still under consideration if we want to take that, roughly off the top of my head, $24,000 to put toward that project. Given the added new expenses we would have to incur in order to get that, being that we've already outlaid, I'm going to put 58,000, I think, in my head, is about what I've outlaid so far. So if we incur approximately another $12,000 to $15,000, and then add the extra 15 for construction, we may be able to get that benefit of the DNR grant at 24,000.
Yeah, but that also comes with strings.
Correct. It comes with a requirement that we grant an easement to the DNR in perpetuity to that property.
And it also comes with, we have to get specific, I thought, equipment that
So
they
that's
require.
the additional 12,000 expenses
Yeah.
that we wouldn't do
Yeah.
otherwise. I guess at some point, I'm going to need guidance as to how we're going to make that decision. If that needs to bubble up, I think we're at a point now where all of the answers except for the final expenses are in, and this board's probably going to make a decision in November as to whether or not we're going to take those funds. So that's still on the radar, unfortunately. Narren Street Grade paving project. This is, we took funds from the small and local government grant to work on a sidewalk project on Oakwood that fell through. Those funds, I'm going to use the proper terminology because there's some misunderstanding among this group as to what happened with those funds. They were relinquished back, and if there were funds available in 2025, it was said by that group we could commit those funds to Ortonville for this Narren Street paving project. Based on that, we've spent somewhere between $30,000 and $35,000 on engineering expenses so far. We have an additional probably $10,000 in engineering expenses to move forward to get to the point to where now Small Urban is still saying they're committed, but they're not telling me the funds are actually going to be there. Small Urban is actually going away. This is its last year in operation. It's being replaced by a new program. So what I'm looking at is we can either continue moving forward with that project and those expenses, knowing that it's a $170,000 project for that 1/10 of a mile of road, and there is some federal funding in the amount of about $69,000. The rest of it would be on the village, in addition to the 35 or so we've already committed. Whether this board feels that's a pill they want to swallow for the improvement of that road is one thing. If I get commitment from Small Urban, that would be $92,000 more that they would be contributing, which would obviously then significantly cut down the portion we'd be responsible for. I hate that I don't have that ready to present to you, but I don't have that answer yet as to whether we can actually get commitment that those funds are going to be available. There's different stages, and when they call it committed, it just means this is one of the projects we want to work on. So I say, okay, we're ready to be shovel ready. Are you ready to write a check? And suddenly the phone's been real quiet for weeks now on that one. So the marijuana license update, again, I want to be careful here. We have received a letter that includes a threat of litigation against the village. There's an assertion in that letter that the acceptance of the application by the two applicants who applied together, it's Berserker and Pioneer, I believe are their names. They included what I would call a basic site plan just for purposes of applying. Their site plan was then reviewed by either the Planning Commission and Zoning Board, someone here probably knows which, or both bodies. Told them that obviously they hadn't done enough due diligence to design it in a way that would conform with local ordinance or EGLE, so they needed to make some updates. I told this board before that in light of that, they've asked to be relieved of the community donation, the community, I'm sorry, I forget the term for it, but it was basically a $200,000 upfront gift they had committed as part of their application. They now want to wipe that off the table. I've had conversations with one attorney, and now this different attorney has written a letter, a demand letter basically to the village. It is unfortunately rife with mischaracterizations of facts, which makes it very difficult to reply to. It's hard to know if we could have a serious conversation based on the statements that are made in the letter, which seems like a blustery threat kind of thing. I have discussed with our attorney, the village's attorney, I brought him in to a discussion about it. He wants me to go ahead and reply to them. They did put, if you don't reply in 7 days, we'll assume that you agree with everything, which is something lawyers do. I have to be very hesitant about speaking too much in depth on it because you can construe it as legal advice, which I am not giving at any time to this board. Nothing I say should be construed as legal advice. I do have to say that. But you need to be aware that there is that going on. I've also received 2 calls regarding those properties. One from a realtor and one from a potential buyer. Apparently they are heard or found somehow that those properties were going to be listed for sale with an inclusion of conditionally approved licenses. And they're asking me if that's true, if those licenses are approved, which is again a very difficult legal question to answer. So I have not yet answered that inquiry. I'm going to work on creating a response that doesn't commit us to anything because we can't be committed to anything. But just know that there's a lot of navigating waters going on with that relationship right now. There's also, for what it's worth, a case that just came down from the Court of Appeals, basically saying that most of the voter-led ordinances, voter-led movements that were put on ballots, ballot initiatives that were put in, are not actually valid. That circuit judge in Oakland County and then the Court of Appeals upholding that decision is a pretty strong statement about what the voter has the authority to do, and that most of those ordinances that were forced upon, for lack of a better word, bodies like this one, don't comport with any kind of legal standard. That there are specific reserved authorities under the MRMA, which is the marijuana law, basically, that are held for the municipality and not for the voter. And so anything that goes beyond those limits, which are pretty small, would be invalid. And so we're also embroiled in this question of, does this apply to us? What does this guidance mean now, right? And unfortunately in the law, things take 5 to 10 years to catch up to reality. And so we're out in that phase now where there was this Wild West. Now judges are starting to say, oh, right, it wasn't right all along, like some of you were saying. This is the way the process works. So we're in a challenging position. So we're relying on our retained counsel to help guide us through that. But if any of you have more detailed questions about that or want to know or have things to contribute to the conversation, my intention is to have a full-blown letter for you all by the next meeting that states this is the state of the licenses, this is where they're at, this is the a brief statement about that case and why it might apply and why it might not, and some other things, so that you all can make a decision based on the best information we can get, how we're going to continue to navigate and move forward in that. What I would say is probably has been a mess so far. I don't think that's an unfair characterization. Consultants, real quick. I have 2 people coming in consultant roles. One as an administrative assistant and organizer, and the other as a bookkeeper. This is an expert in government bookkeeping. She's actually a financial director for another large municipality locally. She's worked with several municipalities over the years. She's a BSNA expert, and she is really going to move things forward on getting us caught up, so to speak. Not that we're behind, but you might understand what I mean if you've worked in the accounting world before, that making sure the receipts are in this program the right way, and this program's talking to that one, and everything's updated at the end of the day. Just that basically putting a stamp on the work we've done in this interim time when we haven't had a treasurer, that we're doing it the right way and we're still on par. So what that means for you is that my intention is that the next meeting you will have August, September, and October financial reporting back again to get that caught up. And then moving forward, we'll have processes in place to continue them going. We'll have some technically written manuals about how we do things, what our processes are, so that anybody in the future can walk in and have a chance instead of dealing with the dumpster fire, so to speak. So many people want to say. It can be super challenging in any organization, right? When you don't have the institutional knowledge that people had. So my goal is to put that institutional knowledge down on paper by developing new processes. Stop using as much paper, start streamlining more, digitizing more of our process. All those kind of things you should expect to see coming in the near future. My goal is by November 30, we're either close to or have already hired someone to be in a position where they're operating those functions, that we're setting up with these two consultants now, if that makes sense. So I probably need to discuss with the personnel committee exactly what my staffing plan is, but I can tell you it's finally taken shape. I know I've been telling you for a couple of months now. I need to get my hands around things, and that's taken longer than I thought. I had 2-week waits to basically get credentials to any of our systems, and that's been part of the fun. But now I'm into all the systems. I'm able to make the payments. I can say that we're doing things as we should be, and we're moving toward a future where we have some solid processes and policies that are based on some of our audit results, addressing some of those issues, but also making it user-friendly moving forward, where it can be picked up and run with. Christmas in the Village, we have committed through me to do a home decorating contest. We were going to wait till Halloween was done to put out information about it, but we're going to market it a little bit. We thought this was a nice piece of goodwill, encouraging somewhat, you see beautification awards sometimes when you go through downtowns, and it's harder obviously during the winter time to have pretty plants and all those things, but just encouraging, some home decorating. And what we're going to do is market it, speak about it, come up with a prize basket. It's probably the intention is to include gift cards to each of the businesses downtown, so that we're supporting local business and, giving people a reason to shop downtown. The basket would be presented at the Christmas parade, which follows, Small Business Saturday comes right after it. So we thought, what a great way to get people in our local businesses and just kind of make it be a win-win for everybody. Hopefully it's a really good program that we keep in place. I will have an ask of this board at some point in late November. We'll give you a list of addresses and say go check them out and give me a vote for your top 3 or whatever it is, and that'll be your involvement, other than maybe being part of the presentation at the parade as we're doing the tree lighting. So that was one of the things we hashed out. I do have to say the Christmas in the Village Committee, I was so impressed with the list of actionable events and items that came out today. It's really going to be a great event. It really is something to be excited about and proud of. And so I'm hoping we can, with things like this, we can spend some intentional energy to say, what can we contribute to make that a bigger event? Aaron's Baby, I know this was already brought up tonight. Many of you have seen it, but I did want to give you an opportunity. We did bring a card tonight for anyone who wants to sign it, who hadn't yet, and we look forward to presenting that to them later this week and meeting the little one. Obviously DPW, getting focused on switching over equipment for the winter. We're kind of already had discussions about salt and all those kind of things. We're getting prepared. So as always, Bob's on top of things over there. And the last thing is the water meters. This is another follow-up item that I talked about before, dealing with the community septic and the feasibility study. We did get back from the plumber the cost for the installation of water meters. We had talked before about how that cost would be shared between the owners, the village, the DDA talked about chipping in. We're hoping the township chips in. What we're looking at now, where we thought before was it would be about $25,000. The estimate came in pretty close to that, a little bit lower for standard meters. And then we talked about what if we put in RFID meters. This would be a way for a meter maid, so to speak, right, the old lingo, to be able to check and read those meters without having access to property, without having to be there during business hours, all that kind of stuff. It's just a remote switch. They just walk downtown and it takes all the readings and downloads them right away. That was significantly more expensive, to the tune of around $45,000 net for the project. And so we'll have to kind of figure out, based on the interested parties and what the division of expense would be, which way we're going to move forward with that. So we're still, I need to.
In addition to the sewers.
Correct. This is just for the
Yeah.
feasibility of whether or not community septic could work. Whether we can build the fields big enough to be able to have that option. So, and no, it is a great expense for sure. But if we look at what it potentially delivers in the way of being able to get restaurants and other businesses downtown, ideally, it wouldn't take long to see that return. Also, the usage moving forward would be charged, and that would be part of reading these water meters. And so that charge would go to also reimburse those expenses. So somewhat very similar to out in Oxford, they had a bond, they put in a septic or a sewer system out in Oxford, and they have a bond in perpetuity where every person in Oxford is going to pay $95 a month until, I guess, the end of the world. That will go to doing that same kind of reimbursement. Now, instead of doing a bond, we're just doing it we're looking at it that way. And obviously, that's a decision for this board. But that's the way we've gone so far, is as long as we can minimize those costs, find ways to shoulder them. We'd rather work with cash now if we get to the bigger project, as we're looking toward that Genesee County Connector project, which is a whole lot more money,
I know, I'm just saying, all those, you add this and this and this and
Yes.
this, that's a lot for one household. So that.
Well, this is not houses.
So this is
This
business.
is
Oh,
only
this is
businesses.
businesses. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
There's no households whatsoever involved with
It's
this.
just
This is
downtown
only
business.
That's,
a list of the businesses between Church and South on Mill. That's all that we're including in that. And then the substation and the fire department. That would be the whole of it, right?
okay.
So as I talk more with the stakeholders and kind of get an idea of who's comfortable with what numbers, I'll come back to you and present, this is what the expense would be for us, this is how it would be shared, and then there'll be a decision from you all as to whether we move forward with that.
I didn't know the substation but the fire department were going to be hooked up to that. That should open doors for a little bit of different kind of funding, I would think.
That's all I have. I know that'll be a relief for you all.
That's good. If I could just add one thing, I don't know, you probably, maybe you know, maybe you don't, but Ryan's doing a Herculean job in that office, starting from not knowing anything to trying to play catch up. And like he said, he called all these people and they don't call you back, and then you sit there because you can't move forward, because you don't have the code that you need to get into what you need. He has just done a phenomenal job.
Can I
Thank
add
you.
something too? And also my comment that after we all complained there was no chocolate in our bowls, that.
Yes, he did. Thank you.
Make sure we were not able to complain about that again.
Yes.
So we appreciate the
We
chocolate.
do.
All of the ladies specifically.
Yes.
No chocolate in the bowl last time.
Okay, thank you all very much.
All right, and make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
And those in favor of adjourning? Opposed? The meeting is now closed, and it is 8:48.